If it's Wednesday night, it's not tonight. It's Thursday night. You can tell. Here we go. What a start we're off to. Heck of a week. It's actually Thursday night, and it's Woodbine Live. Racing Night Live. If you're in Canada, you're watching TSN. You got horse racing on from 6 to 8. That starts in a couple of minutes. And on Thursday nights on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter here on ABR, we do Woodbine Live. I'm Dan Tordjman with America's Best Racing. Up top with me, Emily Gullikson, horse player, partner at Optics EQ, and handicapper and analyst at Brisnet. Emily, how you doing?
I'm good. When Thursday is the new Wednesday. We used to do Wednesday night live at Woodbine. Now it's Thursday, so we're working with it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say we spend so much time handicapping, we've lost track of time and space and everything else. So also joining us down below, racing analyst and paddock handicapper at Fort Erie Racetrack. If you've turned on any ADW over the past couple of weeks, you've seen her at Meadowlands. You see her everywhere. Ashley Mailloux. Ashley, how you doing?
I am good. I'm glad it's Thursday and not Wednesday. That means the week's, progressing. I'm good.
Well, big weekend ahead. We know you got a big weekend ahead at the Meadowlands as well. I may need one of you to take over for me. That's how bad I am right now. Okay, I'm good. Bring it back to center. We've got 3 races coming up at Woodbine. We've got 3 more coming up at Woodbine Mohawk starting at 7 o'clock. In the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to have Robert Reed Jr. join us. He is the author of the Horse Players Journal for Woodbine Mohawk Park. Before then, though, let's jump into this 6th race. We've got a little less time than in past weeks. Post for the 6th race at Woodbine is 6:10. So we've only got 10 minutes. Emily, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, right before we jumped on, was talking about how these races tonight they're a little bit tricky. They're a little bit contentious. So I think kind of watching the board and sort of the way we've been playing the last couple weeks and making adjustments as needed is going to kind of be the key. Let me switch over to the 6th race here. And we'll just kind of start the way we've been looking at this lately by starting with the favorite. So currently you have number 6 at 8 to 5. Just trying to pull my notes. I know we started early here. Last time out, he was sprinting coming over from Gulfstream Park, wide no keep, kind of seems more like a routing type, but honestly, I don't see the value there at 8 to 5 with this horse. I actually kind of think that the number 6 Cool Gizmo and the number 6 Tishina, kind of coming out of that same June 19th race, their form is actually pretty similar. So if, you're kind of looking at one of those at 9 to 5 and the other horse at 13 to 1, to me, that's kind of just like a no-brainer right off the bat. Mm-hmm. The number 3 looks like he's taking a strong second choice right now. A little bit off from the morning lines here, but I think this horse is legit. He's kind of above, fits in this field. 5 to 2 is a good alternative. Last time out, made a middle move. I know the running line doesn't look that great, but he's stretching back out, has good races at the distance, and for this class. So just kind of a good fit overall. The number 2 was kind of a horse I thought we had to look at on the board because he's coming off that big layoff and certainly has races that fit, could possibly even have a pace advantage. But again, you have the layoff coming into this race, so value being the case. The number 1 was interesting to me, and then when I got the morning lines, I was like, I'm not really interested at I believe he was 2 to 1 on the morning line. You guys can check that for me because I still have it in front of me. And I didn't think that was much value, but currently 5 to 1. I mean, that's playable for me right now. I could get involved there. Just trying to see if there's anybody else I missed. The 4. Kind of the same thing. I mean, just sort of regress off the win first off last year, so that could be the case this afternoon. In terms of value, 6 to 1, I would say, is probably fair. Just not sort of one I'm interested in. Maybe Ashley has a better opinion, but I just thought that was kind of a favorable setup last time out at Fort Erie. And then as far as the number 5, maybe an underneath type player kind of seems like needs that lone trip. And then still kind of suspect in terms of getting that trip for the surface and distance.
All right, Ashley, jump in. I want to hear your perspective on this, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about pace and then who I landed on. But why don't you jump in and kind of tell us how you saw this race?
Over some of these horses because obviously I've seen them race a little bit more. I know Dukes was mentioned off the long layoff, the 2. I struggle to use him here. I mean, he's 11 years old, and that has nothing to do with it. But he's had that year off actually to the date, right? So he's had a year off to the date. Looking at his races last year, I think the intention of when he came to Fort Erie was probably hoping to get him in the Puss in Boots, which you'd have those 2 starts at Fort Erie, and he didn't show anything. And then that's not typical for him because he really did like the turf course there. I mean, typically he was hitting the board. So I had to take a wait and see approach on him. For me, the horses that stuck out were the 1 and the 3, and that's why right now I'm happy with the odds. 2-1, I agree with what Emily said on the morning line. I'm like, oh, I don't really like that. I don't love it. But I thought kind of, the barn's been red hot. I think last week on the show they had a winner that we liked. Might have been the week before that.
No, it was last week. It was the first race. It was the 9 horse that went off at 5-1.
Yeah, and so I mean, Alex McPherson, I mean, he's been doing really well. He's 7 for 10 in the money, and I think looking at this horse, yes, it's first time off the layoff, but for me, you look at those races, especially at that like $15,000 claiming price that he was in for. Those were strong efforts each and every start. The 3 I was hoping would be more value. This was kind of like I thought a horse that could be sneaky. Not too keen on 3-1, but kind of just looking at the efforts last year in those claiming events going long. Those are the ones that caught my eye the most. Like I said, though, I don't love 3-1 on him. I was hoping to get maybe like 5-1. Emily like hit the nail on the head with the 4 Giant Mine. That race went the way that he wanted. I mean, Giant Mine got to the front on the dirt at Fort Erie. It is a speed favoring track most of the time. And the winner, in my opinion, on paper, should have been Narrow Escape, a really good horse out of the Justin Nixon barn. He would come in his next start and win it and get the setup perfectly. But Giant Mine was able to go to the front and just have things go his way. So it was a good effort, but there was really no pressure from him. The 5, not a huge fan of. I would wait a little bit, maybe underneath. I did think that, 2-1's a little low on the 6, just looking at his recent efforts. I mean, yes, he's getting back onto the Tapeta, which I think is probably a big key for him, but he really showed nothing down at Gulfstream Park. And I do realize, he's in the Norm McKnight barn now. And then finally the 7 Tashina. I actually liked this horse last time out on the dirt. I thought he was training really well, and Preston Ferris. I'm actually, good friends with Preston, and he even told me the horse was training well. He did a similar move with the horse last year that was stabled at Woodbine and had a lot of success for him. He didn't break as nice as I wanted him to. He really wasn't involved in the race. And I will say, kind of looking at the setup there, Augusto B, I think he's now 3 for 3 this year. He at least has 2 wins, but I think he's 3 for 3 on the year at Fort Erie, and he's been able to basically go to the front in all of them and get the setup. So obviously that's not a favorable race for Tashina, but you look at some of those efforts last year. I know they were on the turf, but he had some nice efforts. So I would use him in a try for 3rd, but for me, looking at the odds, I was more on the 1 and 3.
Okay. And look, the Fort Erie knowledge certainly helping us out there, because I had a lot of questions about, placement and horses coming back with the 2 horse in particular, Dupes. You got a horse that's 11 years old. And, I don't know, off a year break, I think the horse fits based on, his races at this level, distance at Woodbine. But I think you're of the opinion, Ashley, obviously, that he's fallen off some. It's not just a reflection of the fact that those were turf races and the fact that it was at Fort Erie.
Yeah, no, because looking at his Fort Erie races in like 2018, the last race I can see here is when he won a starter allowance, and he didn't show anything in the Puss in Boots. And I vividly could have told you without looking at this that I remember he was the 10 horse, and I remember that he finished last. But
it sounds like a horse like you might have bet on and been really angry about.
Maybe I donated a lot to the track on him before. But he was a horse that was, very consistent on the turf course there. And they obviously wanted a big performance in the Puss in Boots. But even looking at the horses that he faced there, he faced some decent horses. Smooth Passages won, Butterfly Strike. They're decent turf horses. Butterfly Strike just won at Fort Erie last week. And kind of looking at even some of his starts later that he faced a horse. He faced a horse by the name of Dexter Road, who now I believe is just at Gulfstream Park and kind of was a hard knocker himself. So kind of looking at the class that he's faced the tougher turf horses at Fort Erie. And, if he can get back to those ways, I just have a concern. Last year, he won on first asking, and then he showed nothing whatsoever. So that's a little concerning for me.
His races last year and those wins, just when or that one win last year, he had really everything going his way on the front end, just a really soft pace, and was able to coast. And then going back to 2018, even further, his wins that season were all kind of with the bias. So for him, I know he looks like he has those races, but he also needs to have those factors in his way in order to get those races. And I think that accounts for when you see a horse like this that has those either really good races or really bad races. It's like either everything works perfectly or you're going to get a no-show. So they're tough, a tough read.
So I'm going to just throw up a little ticket here that I'm going to put in. It's a pick 3. Really like a horse in the next race who's going to go off as the favorite, probably even money or less. But so for that reason, I'm going to do a $2 pick 3. I'm going to use 4 horses here. I'm actually going to use dupes really more defensively, just because I don't think there's anything in this field that's really great. To my eye, the most consistent horse was probably the horse down on the rail, and I agree with Emily that at least when we were getting 5-1, or we saw 5-1 a couple of minutes ago, that excited me. I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect 5-1 on this horse. So yeah, that one in particular, I think caught my attention. And I think the big question is really, how does this pace unfold? Because you have 3 horses stretching out. As we mentioned, the 4 showed pace, showed some early foot on the front end last time. A little uncharacteristic. What are we going to see there? I mean, are we going to see 3 or 4 horses vie for the lead? I'm not positive, but I know that the most consistent performer in this field, at least at this level, is Leonard's Bay down on the rail. And also the barn is going really well. 2 winners and 5 other in the money finishers from 10 starters, some decent prices too. I think Leonard's Bay to me seems like the safe play. And I also agree with you. You see, I'm using the 3 down there, Night Watchman. Can potentially flash some early speed, but doesn't need to. And I think he was competitive against similar company at this distance last year. Always seemed to give it up late, but this field might just be soft enough for him. And then, the one who's the favorite right now, Cool Gizmo, I think that's a reflection of McKnight. I just kind of ran some numbers. Horses moving over to the McKnight barn at Woodbine from another trainer's barn. Last 14 starters after being switched to his barn from another trainer, 12 in the money, 6 winners. Look, it's no secret. He moves horses up. And this is one who, on form, you might not play. But given the fact that it's a huge trainer switch, you probably have to use that horse defensively. At least I am. So that's why you see the horse on my ticket. Tashina, I could see potentially making an argument for, but I thought maybe it was a bit of a stretch here. If you're going shorter on a ticket, I wouldn't use the horse. If you wanted to throw a bomb on your ticket and add a couple of bucks to your play, go ahead and throw in Tashina, the 7 horse. If you're betting this race, how are you betting this race, Emily?
I mean, I would just say this, like as far as your ticket. I mean, I think you either have to get rid of the 6 or use the 6, because he's just like, the value is just not there, especially when you're betting into a 23% takeout. You're already taking so much.
Well, let me just say this. In the last leg, I've got horses at 8-1 and 5-1. And so I'm hoping that I could catch, I was hoping initially, I thought the 2 or 3 would be, would be sort of more attractive. Well, I thought the 3 would be, certainly, but it looks like people are betting the 3. So yeah, look, I probably, in order to turn a decent profit, I probably need the 2 to win. Otherwise, I might be looking at favorite, and then hope to get lucky in the last leg. But yeah, go ahead. How would you play it?
Yeah, I mean, that would just be like kind of my structure. It would just be, and especially in like a multi-race, would be just at the short price is play against that horse, because he's getting bet purely off the connections. I mean, he had McKnight last time out, so it's like, there's other ways to go. It's like, we like the 1, we like the 3. They're not great value either, but if you're going to use them, it's like don't take those 2 and ride them in. And then, you're using exotics, you probably want the 7 in there. And even, it's not my favorite bet to play the pick 3 at Woodbine. I mean, it's got to be kind of the right combination, but I would use him over the 6 if I were, kind of doing that type of structure.
Okay.
Just from a gambling standpoint.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with losing, that's a part of the game.
Well, we've done so well. We should not lose. We've done so well, especially winning the first race every week. So let's see what we could do here. I'm going to unmute this site, and hopefully we get a little bit of a track sound here, at least a little bit of the track call from Robert Geller. Are you guys hearing that at all?
No.
Pretty low. All right, we'll boost it for the next race.
All right. Who's calling?
Yeah, no one's.
We got a
Ashley,
good
you want to pick it up?
Do I want to pick it up? The horse that we don't want to win, Cool Gizmo's on the lead. Looks like the 5 is going to draw alongside. Night Watchman's in third. Then you have Tashina, and then we go back to the back 3 in there. The horse that we like, the 1, Leonard's Bay, Giant Mine, and then at the back is Dupes, which is interesting. Something I wanted to point out though, when the race went off, did you see Tashina kind of leaping a bit? It was really weird, breaking out of the gate. But it looks like these 2 are going to come up in there. Now the field's kind of tightening up in here. 7 looks like she's going to the outside, making a move a little early. Giant Mine's right behind that one. To me, it doesn't look like Cool Gizmo's really moving too well now.
It looks good at a price. I'm going to regret not putting this horse on my ticket.
The 5's hanging in there too, but now it looks like the 3 Night Watchman.
3's making a strong move there, yeah.
Yeah, and then you see Leonard's Bay right behind that one. Dupes not showing anything at this point. Neither is Giant Mine, kind of dropping back. So looks like it's going to be between the 3. The 1's making up a little bit of ground late.
Yeah, it's got to be Night Watchman. It looks like Tashina ran a big race. Wow.
Boom. Yep, that was the way to get in there. Is one gonna peg her? Oh, unfair.
I got the try, so
you hit the try, nice.
There, man. Ran your guts out wide, makes the early move, and tipped.
Yeah. I just played a try with my horses in here. So I played 1-3-4 with the 1-3-4-6 with the 7.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, if you've got to play for the next race, let me know. Let the folks know. I could put it up on the screen. Jersey Boss, what's up? If you saw us earlier, we got viewers from France now. They must have heard that for the past 3 weeks.
You were butchering names, so they wanted to help out.
Yeah. We'll help you out a little bit. and luckily, too, they didn't get the info that I had, which was that it was Wednesday. So they tuned in on the right night. So good job by them. Question here. Are we going to Monmouth on Saturday? I could say with confidence, Emily's not going. I'm not going. And Ashley, I know you're not going, but you'll be. Tell people where you're going to be on Saturday.
Saturday night, I'll be at the Meadowlands. We have a bunch of stakes races on the card. The highlight is the Meadowlands Pace. So just over a $600,000 purse for 3-year-old colts and geldings. So we just have the eliminations and we'll have the race this Saturday. So busy day. It's really hard to do the double header, but it could be done.
Pop's checking in, and he somehow deciphered everything we said, and he hit the super. So
proud.
So good for Pop on the board. I know it was a tough day at Saratoga today, so good job there to get something. The super will pay all right. Couple of prices, and we got the McKnight horse out of the picture entirely.
Again, we're calling bad favorites. I like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, except for me, who uses the ticket because I'm scared, and and
that's
I
why you
waste.
have friends, and we're here to tell you, don't be scared. Just beat those horses.
Here's a good question. It looks like they want some intel on Meadowlands Saturday, and what I'll say is you'll have to wait until our harness hour. 7 o'clock, we move over to the standard breds, and we'll get into some of that in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll have Robert Reed Jr. joining us. You see down at the bottom there, bet with us with Dark Horse. So this week I ordered an Android because I was told that in order to get on Dark Horse, I needed to get an Android. So I did. And I've never used an Android before. So I now have an Android, and I downloaded Dark Horse. I'm not just saying this because we're partners with Woodbine and with Dark Horse. It is a super, super cool app. If you have not downloaded it yet, do so. If you're in Canada, you could download it and you could wager with real money as long as you're over the age of 18. There's a lot of really cool tech and everything that goes into it. You could only, this is the interesting thing, they only allow you to wager on one race at a time. And these are races that they pre-select for you, which their algorithm identifies as races in which there's potential high yields for profit, betting horses that represent value. So it's a really cool advanced app, but it's also good for learning. You can play with free money as well. no matter where you are, you go to playdarkhorse.com, check out the site, download it. If you've got an Android, download it. If you don't have an Android, you should probably buy an Android like me, because what wouldn't you do to have a burner horse racing phone? And that's what I've got now. I've got a burner Android for my dark horse. So anyhow, that's Dark Horse, playdarkhorse.com. We're going to transition to the next race here, the 7th race at Woodbine. We kind of teased ahead a little bit by letting you know that there's a bit of a heavy favorite in the race. We're looking at, let's see, $25,000 starter allowance for 3-year-olds and up. They're going 5 furlongs on the inner turf. We started with Emily last time. Ashley, let you kick it off here. Race 7 at Woodbine.
Okay, let's just talk about the 7-5 morning line favorite. Reconfigure comes off a 2nd place finish at the optional 62 level, going 6 furlongs on the turf. Now in this, this starter allowance going 5 furlongs. I mean, it was an impressive performance last time out. I like the buyer number that came back. Obviously, this one really does love the turf course and has some back class. If you look at the races last year, was 2nd in the Near Arctic behind City Boy. You kind of just see the horses that this one's been facing, right? We see Pink Lloyd, who needs no introduction. Shocky Mutt out of the Roger Atfield barn. I do think this is probably the class of the field, but I would love to get this horse beat. Now, if I'm going to get this horse beat, I kind of like the 1 Kitchen Fire. I'm not really sure what the price is right now. 6-1 morning line was in the Nick Caruso barn down at Tampa.
Kind of
looking at the performances there. Yeah, so a 92. Yeah. That's a fine price I'm okay with. I thought the effort on the 3rd of May was pretty impressive. I mean, one easily obviously went to the front, and you can see this one kind of does the best on the front end, which then you have to kind of look at some others in here that might have early speed. And what does that mean? Salieri, we talked about last time on the show on July 2nd, got to the front, was able to kind of shake clear at the 6.5 furlong distance. But I don't know, Kitchen Fire has rattled off some quick halves in his career. So this is kind of the horse that I was going to try to sneak in at a price, because I don't like chalk. I mean, I know sometimes you can't beat chalk, and 3 to 5 is just so short. So in this field, that would kind of be who I would go with. Some other ones that I looked at a little bit, though, on my list, I did look at the 7 a bit for Terry Jordan, who's been off to a pretty good start. 3 wins from 10 starters, coming out of that $40,000 claiming event on the 13th of June. So this one's had about a month off. Just hung in there, won by half a length at a price, 12-1 that day. Kind of looking at some others in there. Faced a decent horse by the name of Drina's Bullet, who won next time out at Fort Erie on the dirt. 10-1, I'd like this horse maybe in the try, but I think the problem that I had with a horse like this, when I saw 3-1 morning line, I thought that was short and kind of figuring out where this would stand class-wise. But, that one might offer some value underneath. And we can kind of talk before the show started. We all liked Salieri last time out. I do think this is a tall task for this one. I know the performance last time out was impressive, but now we're shortening up to 5 furlongs. We're taking a jump up in class. So for me, I'm going to go with the 1 to try to get the 6 beat. Maybe I'll sneak the 7 for 3rd in a try.
Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pace scenario is going to have a big outcome in this. So if you're looking, Kitchen Fire with his races and most of his best efforts, they come when he has that lone trip, when he's able to make a lead and not have any pressure. And Salieri, I know he's coming off that win with a similar trip, right? He had that lone trip, he's able to get away with that 23 opening quarter, which is definitely not happening today. But still, the intention looks to be they're going to go to the front end. He's fast enough that they're going to have to go, right, to get into this race at the distance. So with those 2 horses, we'll see. I mean, we could have a best of the speed scenario. Alicia's Kid has some speed as well, and to kind of keep it honest, I mean, even your favorite with his class is able to kind of stay up there and keep those horses close on the front end. So you're not going to really have a pace scenario, in my opinion, and also looking at optics plot, to where you're going to have these 2 speed horses just kind of separate and then see, if one of them can hold on late. So that does kind of, put Reconfigure in the place where he's going to get a trip. The number 2, I didn't hear Ashley mention him. He has, I think there's a little bit of value there. Oh shit, there's tons of value there. I'm surprised that's the first one to let go.
And you're the only one not drinking. The only one not drinking, of course, slips.
Yeah.
Well, we drink every time Emily curses, so let's go.
Okay, so the number 2, he had some trips last year, and he was running in a lot of those races, the kind of higher level races, and I just think that's kind of that's a playable price right there. I'm sorry, running not at quite the higher level, but running at this condition and running competitive races just did not kind of get the right trip. So certainly an overlay right now. The number 7, he had the perfect trip last time out. I'm just kind of against him in this spot. I don't mind Western Trouble that much in here. He's got races that are above good races at the level and distance from last season. The slight against the flow coming out of the race last October, August 821, and kind of has the similar conditions today. That was the race that Reconfigure actually won and got the perfect trip, and I thought Western Trouble kind of ran a good race, and Hitter's Trouble also had some trouble in that race last year. So those are the 2 horses I would kind of look to probably beat him with, because they've kind of ran against him in the past, and I think they're both pretty fair numbers on the board right now.
Yeah. Look, I'll say one thing that I noticed, that since you said that word a few moments ago, our viewership went up. So if anybody wants to drop an F-bomb, I think we might go through the roof here tonight. I'm not going to necessarily tell you that I'm condoning it, but if it slips, it slips. Anyway, look, I'm with you. Hitter's Park, I'm blown away with. Not only was he 20-1 a few minutes ago, he's now 34-1, not taking any action at all. I don't know enough to tell you that Kazushi Kimura hopped off the 1 to ride here, but the horse was 4-1 on the morning line. I thought made sense from a number of different perspectives, including the fact that I thought that he'd be sitting a good trip, and has some back form. I mean, this is not by a long shot the worst horse in this field. But by looking at the odds, you would think that he's absolutely awful. So, look, off the layoff, he's also got a decent work. Actually, last couple of works are pretty decent, at least on paper. Hitter's Park is one that's definitely piqued my interest. We saw in the last race, we mentioned a couple of prices. We had my dad here chime in a minute ago with 2 fairly obvious horses on top. My dad hitting that super, here it is. It paid $147 for 20 cents. So if you can find a price here that makes sense. Now, look, if Reconfigure wins, your supers aren't going to pay anything. But if Hitter's Park, I mean, honestly, it would not be the most shocking thing in the world if this horse won this race, to me at least. And obviously, I'm hoping not, because I've singled now the 6 in my pick 3, which I'm locked into, and I want to sell if anybody wants to buy it. Yeah, Hitter's Park I thought was interesting, and again, given the price you're seeing on the board right now, super interesting. And the horse on the outside also, I'm a little surprised by 16-1 on Mas Chikilin. Ran a really nice return race last out, winning on the turf at Woodbine, and there's, again, this is a horse that has been, can he hang at this level? Can he hang at Reconfigure? Maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but I thought the horse has, he's got some tactical speed, can sit off the pace. Patrick Husbands has won a 35% clip for this barn over the past 2 years. That's really solid, and not the smallest sample either. You got 17 races in the money half the time. Mas Chikilin is going to factor here. I mean, I have no doubt Mas Chikilin will hit the board. 15-1 is a little outrageous. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to see that price come down a little bit. So those were the 3 that I sort of zeroed in on. And as you guys touched on, I mean, Salieri, I think has got his work cut out for him. That's reflected at 14-1. I wouldn't be, for me, I'd be less surprised if it was Salieri at 30-1 than I would be Hitter's Park. And then the horse on the rail. Look, again, if the horse can somehow get to the front and Salieri doesn't break, I think Kitchen Fire could probably win. But I think that's the scenario that you need. I can't envision a scenario in which this horse takes pressure throughout and then still kicks at the end. So for me, top 3 for me are going to be, I still think Reconfigure is going to be way too tough. I'm going to put Reconfigure on top. Mas Chikilin second and Hitter's Park third. That would be my top 3. Ashley, how would you bet this race? You told us who you like, but how would you bet this race if you bet this race, or would you just sit out because you don't like the board?
I already bet, so I can't
Okay,
sit out now.
how
I
did
don't
you bet
cancel
this
tickets.
race?
I mean, I still do like the one. I do agree. Like, he's going to have to get out. I mean, his best races have been when he shakes clear early and doesn't have that pressure. But for me, I think 8-1's a great price on him. And from my understanding, Nick Caruso really liked this one in the barn, and I think was, hoping to keep this one for longer. But, Bruno does send some of his stock, depending where he thinks they fit best. And he must have thought that Ontario was a good spot for this one. So I like the 1 and the 6 and the 7. I am too. I didn't mention Hinders Park earlier, but when I saw 4-1 morning line, I wasn't keen on the horse. And that's the big thing. We talked about this, and Emily's mentioned it a bunch. It's the great thing about the live show, right? Is we can see what the odds are and kind of figure out how we're going to play. And that's a big deciding factor. This is a horse I would definitely use in the try. At first when I look at the horse, I see this, 1 on the board finish from 4 starts over the turf at Woodbine. I wasn't thrilled at that. But if you look at those trips last July and August, things weren't like clean for him. He'd be game, or he'd have traffic problems. He got bumped around a lot in one of the starts. He didn't have a clean break, and that's kind of been, he's had excuses, and I think they're valid ones. So interesting to see him at this price, especially in this field. I would have thought Alicia's Kid would have been a higher price than the 2. Western Trouble sitting at 8-1 doesn't really shock me, because I think the effort last time was a decent first time off the layoff sort of situation and a good number. But
pretty consistent horse, though.
Yeah, and I think that's just a head scratcher for me on the odds on the 2, and even you said it on the 7, a horse that's 3-1 morning line. I did think 3-1 was maybe low,
right? But
I was thinking a horse that might sit at like 6-1. But obviously, when you have a horse that's currently on the board at 1-5, everything kind of gets skewed as far as an odds standpoint. So I just played some tries where I used the 1, 6, and then on top, and then underneath I was using the 1, 2, 6, and 7. But I do think this is a race where.
Wait, one more time so I could actually put this into a graphic.
Okay.
One more time. Go ahead.
So I used 1, 6.
Okay, on top you got the 1, 6.
Yeah, 1, 6 with 1, 6, 7 with 1, 2, 6, 7.
Okay. All right.
You good now?
I think so. Look, I thought it was Wednesday. You gotta go slow for me. All right.
There you go.
That's it right there. So you're looking at, what is that? What's the math on that? Is that
2 times 2 times 2?
$12 for a dollar?
2 cubed is 8.
$8?
8.
Cool. Emily, what are you doing?
I was looking at doubles right now. The 8th race is really tough. So, I can spread a little bit, using the 2, because it's just like to take a stab here. But those are the 2 I'm kind of looking at. Keying 2 with pretty deep, and then 4 with some others as well. But it's pretty tough, looking ahead at the doubles, trying to get a read on some of these first-time starters. The 1 looks like, pretty obvious, taking money in there. I think that she's above, so definitely using that one. The number 2 and the number 4, I'm a little bit curious on. I think the 4, there's some positive intent there, was scratched out of a race on Sunday. The number 2 was also scratched out of a race earlier in July when they drew far outside. So a couple things to keep in mind. 5 taking a lot of money, but again, kind of shorter morning line, so that tends to make sense. Probably going to use the 6 as well, just because such a price in there and going to be such a bomb. But that's kind of the way I would structure is really spread, and like just it's pretty stabby. But yeah, I mean the 6 being at 1-5 just is inflating everything right now. So it's kind of worth getting involved in. Not a big investment, but if that horse wins, turn the page and we'll really look at these crazy maidens in the next race.
So your approach as of right now is using the 2 and 4 in this race in doubles?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably, you probably go win bets as well if you just wanted to kind of keep it simple on both of those horses. And look at the probables when it comes up again, just as far as keying them over the 6. But that's kind of the way that I think sort of the value is. I mean, those are the 2 kind of best pools to bet into. So, you know, taking advantage of that.
I mean, kind of looking at the doubles, I pulled up just like the kind of the display. Obviously, I mean, there's even doubles that if you do get, it's a Wild Maiden. If you get some prices, even with the 6, I think they're decent payouts for a double with a horse that's 1 to 5. But, you know, I know, Dan, I know we'll get into it later, but I know you really liked a horse in the last. I really liked a horse. But in a race like this, I mean, the horse that I like, if the 6 doesn't win, that's my lowest double. It's $52 for 2. The second lowest double is $97. So, you know, now I kind of wonder, okay, well, I mean, we kind of like a couple horses in here. I don't think there's like a clear standout for us other if you throw out the 6. I don't know. If the horse I like is kind of a right price, would I go all here and hope to get a price? You know, I don't know. So I'm trying to think kind of how to play it.
Did you have an opinion in the 8th race?
I kind of like the price. I mean, I thought looking at this, if I have this written down right, yeah, I do. Looking at the doubles, Lady Sunshine was going to take probably the most money, as well as the one She's Got Moves, and that's another horse I think in the Gail Cox barn. My price horse though, I kind of liked the 3 Go Gigi Go Gigi Go. That was my price horse. So like for me, looking at this, I could spend, say I want to play a $2 double, all 3 for $14. Cheapest payout's 53, then it's 99, and then everything else is 126 or more, which I think is a pretty good return. So just kind of see how that's going to play out. I know we still have 10 minutes, so I'm curious to see. But you know, you've been bringing up doubles, and I've been kind of watching the pools more to see if it's worth it. And I think in some of these races, it is.
Yeah. One of the best bets at Woodbine are the doubles. So you always, like, to me, that's sort of where I want to focus first, is like, you know, 11% takeout. So looking there and kind of seeing if you have an opportunity, because that's sort of your edge right off the bat.
Right. I mean, I can't play exactas here, especially if the 6 is any part of it. I mean, a 6-1 exactas kicking back 1270 for 2. That's just not worth my time. I just don't like making bets like that. I know some people like to make really heavy wagers, but I rather try to get a price elsewhere and go with the double or go with a try.
All right, Emily, we got you on record here. We got your approach in print here.
Spread City. Yeah.
Spread City.
Yeah. I liked the 3 as well. Mentioning, you know, she had a better than looked effort last time out, but it was also kind of flow aided. So I was sort of like mixed, because visually I was like, that was a really good effort. And then kind of looking at the way the race came back, it was like, well, she ran a lot, but she also had, you know, she had that pace to close into, but you know, definitely, you know, I would kind of hate to get beat by a horse that, you know, you have some positives on. So definitely a use. I'm against the number 7 in the next race. So that's Lady Sunshine. And part of that is just, it does not break well. She always breaks slow. So you have a horse that's just going to create her own trips. And when you have that and you're going to have a short price, she's going to be the favorite. You know, there's really, I mean, if you look at speed figures, like the 1 has better speed figures. So it's like, I'd rather go there. Granted, you have maybe a little bit more upside with a lighter raced horse. But still, just like at the short price, just not crazy about that. And sort of the same thing with the outside horse as well. I mean, her best race came at this condition, but again, just, you know, doesn't often have early speed. So, you know, getting a trip from the outside post, having to come from off the pace, and an unreliable condition, you know, those types of things just, you know, make me want to look outside and try to get cute with something clever.
Dan's gonna cry at this point, because I think that's the horse.
No, you set me up nicely, because that's my pick. I love the 10. I love Adore Me in the next race. Obviously, the last race, the comeback effort, doesn't look great. But if you go back, I mean, for me, I just went back, watched a couple of races. I thought the horse had some excuses. Look, this is a 5-year-old mare who hasn't won yet. Would imagine she's had, you know, some issues along the way. But no, if you go back and watch the race in November, the last time sprinting before that race last out, she made what I thought was the second best move, at least from off the pace, when there wasn't too much else closing from the back. Just visually, looking at that horse at this distance, or at least going 6.5, I just thought again, given the fact, like at this level, what I'm expecting in terms of, the caliber of horse she's going to run into here, I'm not expecting any big moves from off the pace. And so I thought, look, if there was a little bit of pace here that she can kind of trail into, I thought maybe she could, I thought she would have the best turn of foot late. Now, I know looking at it on paper, you're like, I don't know how you see this. I mean, there are not many moves from off the pace like that. But again, it's one of those things just from watching replays. I watched, those last 4 races, and I found excuses for all the races in which she didn't really make a move. And then again, that race on November 9th, I thought was probably her best shot to win a race. And I thought she made a nice move in that race. The 2 horses, by the way, also in that race who finished ahead of her, came back to win next out. So I do like Adore Me quite a bit. If I could lock in 9-2 right now, I would. I have a feeling that price might come down slightly. I mean, I don't think the horse is going to be 2-1. I think the horse could be 7-2 or 4-1 potentially. So, Adore Me would be my pick in the last race. I'm with you too, by the way, on Go Gigi Go. I think that one makes a lot of sense. Trainer, by the way, also just because I have nothing better to do but to keep running stats. Kelly Callahan at Woodbine, 2nd-time starters, 11 starters, 4 winners, 5 in the money. So second time out with her horses, they usually take a step forward and they run well. So I think Go Gigi Go is one who's going to take a lot of money. I would not be surprised if that horse went off second choice. And I think that Lady Sunshine is probably going to take a lot of money. And like you guys, I know Emily, I'm going to try to beat her in this spot. And so I left Lady Sunshine off, but I would not be surprised at all if she ran a big race. And then, if you're going to add one more horse to your ticket, She's Got Moves, the 1 horse. Again, we're talking about the next race here, so don't be betting on these numbers for this race. She's Got Moves in the last. I thought went really fast early last out, faded late. If she can show some speed while cutting back, maybe she can grab a bigger slice. And again, I thought she had some excuses in her early try sprinting. So just watching replays, She's Got Moves was one that made sense. The one that made the most sense to me was Adore Me. But going back to this race, I mean, let's take another look at the odds. They've kind of moved a little bit since we were last discussing this race in particular. Some sanity prevailing. Hitters Park is no longer 35-1, is now only 19-1. But coming down as as the price on Reconfigure drifts up a little bit, although I wouldn't expect anything higher than even money. Probably going to be 4-5 or 3-5 when they go off, I would think. And then also taking money is the horse on the outside, Mas Chakilin, who I think we knew would take some money. So drifting, coming down a little bit there on Mas Chakilin. So those are the ones who have taken a little bit of money. Kitchen Fire has stayed pretty consistent at 9-2. I feel like the entire time has been 9-2. Alicia's Kid, not getting much love, and I think we kind of made the case for why that is. Western Trouble.
I think if you're playing tries, I think this is a horse you probably want to keep in there. She's the value to kind of stick around at a price.
Alicia's Kid.
Yeah. I mean, she could kind of. He has.
Yeah, I've done that I do that all the time with that name. Yeah, exactly.
Has enough speed that they just might kind of rate off the first 2, off the 1 and the 5. So I mean, could fall into kind of one of those trips that just sort of sits around for a piece, We've
got a couple of people sending tickets in here. Sean Patrick Nolan, Daily Double, 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. With number 1, She Got the Move. So if I'm reading that correctly, we're 5 over 1, 5 horses over 1. Mm-hmm. And then Pops is in, I think now he's going to just try to hit the super in every race. So he's going with 1-6 on top over 1, 2, 4, 6 over 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 overall. So if I know my dad and if I know our luck in general, what's going to happen here is that the 1 is going to win and the 7 is going to finish second, and he's not going to hit the super because he did not use the 7 in the second spot. So look, you've still got time. Go in there, throw in any ticket with the 7 second, because now it's just destined.
Yeah, just single them in the second spot, right? There you go.
Exactly.
The interesting thing I want to bring up about Alicia's Kids too is kind of the the decision to take blinkers off. I think that's probably going to give this one the better shot just because there is a decent amount of speed. And, you know, I mean, you look at that first effort off the layoff, finished second behind Saltini, but looking at some of those races where blinkers were last off, you have to go back to pretty far back, about a year ago. But even some of those efforts, like I look at the one on June 14th at the Maiden, was able to kind of sit off the pace and make ground up. And, you know, maybe that's what they're hoping to do here. I'm not sure. I mean, the horse has raced with blinkers for a while now and has done well, but they must have some reasoning to take them off in this spot.
I'm trying to throw in maybe another bet here. I might just do like a cold $2 super just for fun.
With the 7 second.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it up here in a second.
Also, just wanted to point out, I didn't know this. I was just kind of scrolling through. For the DRF in Canada, Ron Gearking is the man up there. And he had just posted that this is the first leg of the Woodbine Turf Sprint Series.
Oh.
So they did like that like Euro series last year. And they've done kind of those endurance races. So this is like specifically the Turf Sprint Series.
Nice.
So
when was that? Was that 2 years ago that they did the
Euro?
Was it? I don't think it was last year, was it? I think it was like the year
last year was the distance series. I think the endurance.
Yeah, and the year before they ran right-handed.
Yeah, that was I think 2 years ago, and then last year I think the idea was the endurance because I know one of the horses I remember by the name of Bold Rally, a gray for Daryl Ezra, won one of the races. See my sick memory coming through. So that last year was the endurance series.
All right, so I just threw a ticket up there, $4 ticket, just for fun, just for a little more action. And we've already told you the 7's finishing second, so any ticket you put in at this point, just key that 7 in there in the second spot. Just lock that horse in. All right. Oh, wait, here we go. We got a new ticket, Super Box 1, 2, 6, 7. And I feel so here, and this was my dad's first reaction. The sad face.
He feels like you're bashing him.
That's my reaction. My reaction when I see that ticket is the sad face. So
no, this is how we go. Like, it took my wife the longest time to like understand my dad and I communicating with one another. She's like, "You're so mean to one another." I'm like, "No, this is just how you talk when you're betting. This is how it goes." Like, we still like once it's over, everything's cool. We go back to like, all right. So what did you eat for lunch today?
That's not what happens in our household. So we still talk about bad beats from like 2 weeks ago.
All right. So, Emily, do you want this call or do you want me to try it? What do you think?
I think you're due. You ready for a call?
Wow, Emily's just pawning them off on everyone.
Well, there's still one race left.
There's going to be a million horses, a bunch of trouble at the start.
Yeah. You know? We'll leave the last one to you.
Yeah.
I'll do this one.
Fair
enough. All right. So they're all in the gate. That's all I got. They've broken from the gate. They're going 5 furlongs on the inner turf here at Woodbine. Salieri, as expected, goes to the lead, but up on the inside, Kitchen Fire trying to put some pressure on, but loses the rail position. Salieri gets loose now, opening up a little bit of daylight on the field. I would expect this first fraction is going to come back pretty fast. Moving up on the rail, you've got Hitters Park. Then up on the outside, 3 wide, you've got Alicia's Kid. 4 wide, you've got Western Trouble. Behind them, your favorite, Reconfigure, making this wide sweeping move now. Salieri, 21-3 for a first quarter. Hitters Park is looking good. Hitters Park may pull this off here at 11-1. Took the late money. And Hitters Park, Salieri, a game effort, 15-1, holds on for second. Reconfigure, your favorite, disappoints at even money. And rounding out your super, didn't finish second. Mas Chakilin finishes fourth. How about that? Emily's sitting pretty right now.
Spread deep. I mean, it was just, again, it's just like you have, like, those opportunities, they just present, and got to look for them. I mean, that was it. I mean, the 6 ran a good race, was wide, made the move off the turn. Obviously, I think being inside and saving ground is kind of where you want to be. I mean, that's where those horses were, the 5 and the 2. Super aggressive ride on the 5. I mean, you figure last time out, he set that 23 opening quarter, today under 22. So pretty fast. Maybe they'll give him a little bit of time off after these 2 big races, but massive effort. 7 came along for 3. The 4 was really wide, right, throughout. So I just don't think that being on the outside is where you want to be. 7 kind of getting pushed out there at the beginning. So doing kind of trip notes for this race. I think this is the only turf race on the card, right? Tonight. I just would kind of like make note of that. Just in terms of profile and horses coming back. But yeah. Excellent.
I don't know if you could call this red boarding, but I put your graphic up again just to remind people, in case you didn't remember. Emily told us to use the 2 and the 4 in double. So if you use the 2 in your double, I think we all thought Hitters Park was a massive overlay. Was obviously 25-1 for most of the time, then dropped to 20. 11-1 obviously took a late hit, but 11-1 was great value. Hitters Park was my second choice. I wish I would have gone too deep in this leg instead of just using reconfigured in my pick 3. But of course, I did not. So that's that. But we do have a couple of people who are watching and betting with us. So congrats. I don't know if Jimmy, the new guy, hit, but he loves the inner turf. So we're with you. Jess here, shouting deuce. So Jess, obviously happy with that result. And then, of course, from earlier, Sean Patrick Nolan told us he was using the 2 in the double. So we shall see if SPN can close out, and if Emily can close out. Emily, come on, let us know what you got. You got to share. What do you got in this last leg now?
So again, like I said, this one's one I was going to go very deep with because and went shallower on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yeah.
So let's root for the 1, 3, or 4 because I'll have a double if it's 1, 3, or 4.
Awesome.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, I ended up punching a double late with 1, 2, 6 with 1, 3, 4. But to show you my bad beat, I played a dollar try in that race. 1, 2, 6 with the 1, 2, 6 with the 5 singled.
That's a Tordjman ticket right there.
That's tough because obviously you get 11-1 over 15-1 over even money. And that's actually I played a couple like 60-cent tries.
Oh,
and that was the dollar. So yeah, that hurts a little bit.
I mean, look, the camera loves you right now. They're like, "What do you got in the next race? Give us more. Give us more."
We can find something. I mean, it's there's a lot of ways to get beat. I mean, the horse that you like on the outside, the 7, the 5, those are in there. I mean, even the 9, she's got races that can win. Most experience. So spread pretty well. Happy with the bet, but we'll see how it goes and maybe change the opinion or go a little bit heavier once we kind of see these horses and see the board.
Cool. Ashley, you said you needed 1, 3, 6.
No, so I'm alive in the double to the 1 and 3 in the 4 because I played a double here 1, 2, 6 with 1, 3, 4. But I played a couple 60-cent tries and then I played $1 try and I played 1, 2, 6 with the 1, 2, 6 with the 5 singles for 30.
Yeah, that's sick. That's sick.
Yeah. So
now the super. Yeah.
We get the biggest double that both Emily and I can hit, and then I'll be happy.
So here I'll put it up now and hopefully. I mean, it worked in the last race, so we'll try it now. I believe this is what you all need, right? 1, 3, 4, 6, and then Ashley 1, 3, 4.
Emily, did you use the 2
as well? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
All right, we can add that.
So I'm looking at
Dan, you have to be licking your chops right now, looking at this 10 at 13-1.
Look, I'm feeling good.
I don't dislike her at 13-1. I'll tell you that much. I just think she got a flow-aided trip and just the layoffs. But I mean, at the price, definitely.
All right, we've got a new shooter coming in here in a moment as we approach our harness hour here, the 7 o'clock hour with racing from Woodbine Mohawk. Let's go ahead and going to go ahead and remove this screen for now. Welcome in Robert Reed Jr. How you doing, Rob?
Good. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Have you been watching once again, Emily and Ashley, just nailing race after race.
I heard you guys talking about Hitters Park there at a big price. I
Uh-huh.
heard that, and then I look over and see the horse won at a nice price. So is that one of the ones you guys were on there?
That was the horse that made me swear on camera.
Right.
She looked up at the odds and she was like, "Yeah, you know, right now with Hitters Park,
Nice. Well, hey, if it's that kind of a price, that might warrant the odd curse word, right?
No regrets. Yes.
Well, look, again tonight, the bar is set high, but you delivered last week. Actually, as we were signing off last week, for those who stuck with us to the very last few minutes of our show last week, Robert gave us a late pick 4 with 3 singles that all hit. 3 singles that all hit in the late pick 4. Now, you're going to ask the next logical question. Dan, did you hit? Ashley, did you hit? Did we hit?
Well, I didn't play.
Ashley should have hit, because when we went off the air, Ashley asked a great question and said, if you're going to use half the field, why not just take an all? And I think I was being a little bit stubborn in the ticket that I posted, on the broadcast at Mohawk Park. And, it was a good point, because for just $9, you could have taken home a nice win 4 ticket, because, of course, Going Fast won and paid, I think, $80 and change. So that definitely has now left me with always listen to Ashley, because I was left with 3 singles and empty pockets at the end of the night.
Well, and by the way, the ticket ended up paying almost $800. So your $9 ticket would pay $800. So we are, again, I mean, you set the bar way too high. Now the expectation is you're going to do this again tonight. We're going to start out with the first race at Woodbine Mohawk here in, let's see, how much time do we have? We have 7 minutes. We may as well pull it up. By the way, did not give you the formal introduction. Robert Reed Jr. is the author of the Horse Players Journal. You can find him in the Woodbine Mohawk program every race night with analysis and with top picks. And not only is he good with top picks, but his underneath long shots have also been hitting at a high rate. So definitely check out Robert Reed Jr. In the Horse Players Journal. You're here, man. You may as well kick us off here the first. I'm working on getting this screen to come up here. I will pull it up here in a moment, and we'll check out the odds here for the opening race.
Yeah, the opening race, I mean, it's a night of, just like last time, we've got a lot of Ontario Sire Stakes grassroots action. And this one's for 3-year-old colts and trotting colts and geldings. For me, this race comes down to the outside 2 horses. I really believe that they are the early speed of the race and the best 2 horses in the race. The problem is they drew post 8 and post 9, and even more so for post 9. I always find that if you like a horse from the outside, starting position, you better hope that horses 5, 6, 7, and 8 don't have speed. And the unfortunate thing for this one is at least 2 of those horses sport a lot of early go. So I landed on the 8 here. I really like No Time to Play. He's going to end up being the favorite. He's 8-5 now. He'll probably go off at a lot less than that. Benoit Bellargent and Sylvain Filion, and just rock solid connections on this one. Was a winner at Grand River last time. I do respect the 9 horse though. I just think that the 8 is probably the better of the 2. And the early money, oddly enough, fell on the 1 Dark Guy. I looked at when the pools open, he had most of the early money, which was kind of shocking to me. But the interesting thing about him is I did make a mental note of him last time. He's not in my top 4, but I made a mental note of him last time at Grand River because he did make a nice move 3 wide on the final turn. And that's not easy to do on a half-mile track. So I do certainly see why he might be taking a little bit of action, but at the same time, I kind of he's not one that I really I'm going to land on here.
Okay, you'd use the horse underneath though.
I didn't pick him underneath myself. I would use him in tries and supers. Just based on the fact that, last time the trailing post to start before that, post 9 here at Mohawk Park, which is obviously, we've discussed, a very difficult one to overcome. I do I didn't really see the allure to him as taking that much early money.
Okay, Ashley.
I liked Dark Guy at 8-1 morning line. I hate him at 5-2. Part of the reason being, he's on in the inside now, and he's not a horse that actually has gate speed. And so I don't love that with him. In general, if I have a horse, his last race was great. He raced really good at, Grand River at this grassroots level, out of the 9 posts. But I think for me, I thought he'd offer value, and that's why I was more intrigued by him. The scratch of the 5, I did like Field Gunner underneath. That was kind of a horse that I'd look at. But to me, Rob hit the nail on the head. I mean, the 8 and the 9, those are the 2 horses that are probably the class on paper. And Robert's already touched upon it. Ripped and Ready, the number 9, have speed, so can obviously move from that outside post, which is great. But again, a lot of horses to the inside have that. So if they're all going, he's not going to get over like one would hope that he would and try to save ground. So that's concerning. But for me, 8 and 9 were probably the clear cut. I did like the one underneath at a price. Now I'm not so keen on that. So kind of looking at value, a horse that I would maybe use who finished second in his qualifier last time out. So the 2, I may use him for third in a try to sneak a price home in here. Kind of looking at his efforts. If you go back to the effort on July 1st, not the best of trips, but ran an okay third, kind of, at this level. So for me at 15-1, I would use that horse maybe for third in a try. But obviously there's 9-5 and 5-2 is my top choices. So there's not a ton of value. So I'm not trying to search for a price because I feel like sometimes we get kind of reachy. But if I were to play a try, I'd use the 8 and 9 on top, maybe the 1, 8, 9 in the second spot, and just, I don't know, maybe just single the 2 for third to try to get a good try payout.
All right. Well, see, Ashley now is she knows the next question I'm going to ask her. I'm like, I'm not interested in 9-5 or 5-2. Give me the price that you're using. So Ashley preempted me and gave me the 15-1 shot. Robert, who's your price underneath that you're using in your, if not in your exact, as maybe your tries?
Yeah, my price is definitely the 7 horse. You Go, currently 22-1. This horse is exiting the gold division of the OSS races. So, again, he finished 5th, beaten 15. It wasn't like he was competitive. He was never really in it. But I think that you do have to respect the fact that the connections did put him in the higher division of this, of the Ontario Sire Stakes. And the horse that won that race, Hayek, would be, 1 to 1 million in here. Though he, fantastic horse for the Belargent stable. And I just think that this is one that if he gets a decent spot, he's got a legend in Doug Brown driving, one of my childhood heroes at Greenwood Raceway. If he gets a decent spot, off the gate, or can just navigate his way through the race, he might be able to land on the ticket. I liked his lines at Kawartha when he did win a non-winners of 1. Now this is a long way from that class, but coming out of the goals, I do think he merits some respect at a big price.
All right, so kind of blending together what both of you have given us here. Look, if both of you are on the same 2 horses, that's good enough for me. The 8, No Time to Play on top, Ripped and Ready. You may also want to use on top. 8 and 9 sounds like those are your top 2. Underneath, you're both sort of slightly fading Dark Guy, although Ashley liked Dark Guy a little bit at a bigger price. Price is drifting up a little bit. And your long shot plays, Ashley likes King of Hearts, the 2, and Robert likes the 7. You Go underneath. So I don't know, just for fun, I'll probably put in a ticket, 8, 9 on top with maybe 2, 7 underneath. What do you think?
That works.
Your approval?
I think that definitely works. I think the 2 outside horses are going to give you no value. And again, these being trotters, sometimes they are prone to making a break in stride. So if you were going to use those 2 on top and try to get a couple of bombs underneath, that's going to get you the payout. If the race runs 8, 9, 9, 8, it doesn't matter what comes in behind it. It's going to come back pretty short.
Our viewers are always thinking a step ahead. They're looking for a double. Can you suggest a double play here in the first race?
For me, the second race all comes down to 1 for Julius, who's the 1 horse. I know that there's quite a few handicappers that I respect are landing on the 3 in there. He got a troubled trip last time. That's my better's Dell. I do like that one for second. However, 1 for Julius is still eligible to the North America Cup. And he's coming into the golds and dropping way back into non-winners of 2. His last start before the gold effort was a non-winners of 3. This is a monumental class drop, and he finally draws an inside post. To me, I am all in on the one for Julius II.
That's the confidence we heard last week when he gave us 3 singles in the pick 4. So let's see if we can repeat that. Ashley, you got your eyes on anything in the second race that you'd include in a double?
My top 2 are the 1 and the 3, the same horses that Robert, mentioned. Obviously, the big thing that you'll see in the form. I know, Dan, you're trying to learn more, but they'll tell you right next to the horse's name in parentheses NAC. So you still know this horse is eligible for the North American Cup, which is interesting because the Meadowlands Pace is this weekend. North American Cup's going to be after the Meadowlands Pace, which is just kind of a different sort of event schedule. But kind of, looking at the race, to me, these are the 2 standouts. You got My Better's Dell, the 3, getting a better post, which I think is huge because this one last time was in that second tier out of the 10 posts. Prior to that was the 5. And this one doesn't have a ton of speed, but I like this one towards the inside more. I wouldn't want this horse on the inside, but I think the 3 post should really help that one. The connections have been doing well, but a lot of signs do point to the 1, but I'm always the person that I try to get the favorite beat. So my horse would probably go to the 3 then. But it should be really tough to beat 1 for Julius.
Okay. Robert, looks like you got a new background there. Are you at home now, or are you at work?
I'm actually at home today, and I was planning on having this really cool background with like action figures and bobbleheads, and
it looks good.
And
I'm
racing.
going to zoom in on you. Hold on, let me zoom in on you here. We got to get you in the full
cool.
screen. Look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's actually it's a painting that my wife and I picked up. It's our favorite one in the house. It's kind of the centerpiece of our main room here, and I decided, okay, I'll go with that, I guess. But I did, I'm a collector. I collect a lot of things. My wife calls me a hoarder, but I'm a collector. And I was hoping to set up this really cool background with like action figures and bobbleheads, and maybe we'll do that next time.
No, this is nice. It's nice, and it's always good when you can have a husband and wife or any couple really living in the same place, agreeing on artwork, on wall art specifically, especially when it's horses. Yeah,
exactly. And you can't see her, but just over there, I have a nice signed print of Zenyatta signed by Mike Smith, which was actually a birthday present my wife got me. And, just shows that she knows exactly what I like. She bought it in a charity auction at Charlestown, actually, which was when we lived in Richmond, Virginia. But yeah, it's we have a lot of horse racing and harness racing art as well. The Great Cam Fellow is one of my favorites, which is in our rec room.
Nice. Very nice. Emily, do you approve?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the I'm a collector, not a hoarder stance as well. So
yes.
Do you collect stuff too, Emily?
You know what? I don't. I'm pretty minimalist. I have in the past, but at this point in my life, I try to have as few things as possible. But I respect the game.
That's fair. Ashley, you collect?
Oh yeah, maybe we'll have to do a change next week to see the a lot of it's mine, some of it's my dad's.
We could do like show and tell next week.
My dad's whole thing is like, when I croak, that's how he says it, these are all going to be yours one day, so take care of them. But I mean, we have like obviously derby glasses, we have a couple saddle towels that I've gotten at various places. We have a lot of these really cool shot glasses from like the 1920s that are all kind of the same design that we've picked up at random antique shops. We got Borderie stuff, some Woodbine stuff, bourbon bottles that are like the horse racing kind of designs that are older. Programs, I have like tickets from like the 50s from racetracks and programs from the 40s. So hopefully the house never catches on fire because that's all gone then. But we have like blinkers. I have a pair of blinkers. I'll have to bring them next time. They're like the craziest blinkers you'll ever see. They have to be close to 100 years old.
Wow.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
They're super cool. I bought them for $5 in Bourbon County, Kentucky at the Secretariat Festival. So
that's awesome.
That's cool.
All right. We're about to get going here. The first race of the night at Woodbine Mohawk, and we've got 2 more races coming up after this. We've also got the 1 thoroughbred race left, the 8th race at Woodbine. We'll come back to that right after this. If you're just joining us, picks here from our experts. The 8, No Time to Play. The 9, Ripped and Ready on top. A little bit of interest in the 2, King of Hearts, and the 7, You Go, and then Dark Guy underneath as well. Let's see how it goes. Is this looks like the 2 might be off stride there.
The 2's off stride and the 3's already out of it. He couldn't make the gate. And oddly enough, the 9 went right to the back. So Ripped and Ready right to the back, racing from off the pace tonight. But again, with that many breakers, there's only 6 horses really now in contention.
Wow. And these you got the horses that are up there right now. The 4 Archie Star 12-1, the 6 Drone Sealster 19-1. And then you've got your favorite, obviously, No Time to Play behind them, but this could set up to be interesting.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's with these young trotters and the grassroots, sometimes they do throw some upsets at you. So let's see how this pans out.
There's your long shot. You Go is looks like is in a pretty decent spot here.
Yeah, he's sitting in a good spot now. Oddly enough, I think that No Time to Play must have had a break in stride as well, because he's not in the picture right now. I don't see him, and he's not showing up on the TRAKUS at the bottom there. So I'm assuming he made a miscue.
Well,
sorry,
he's
he's
battling
for the lead there. My apologies.
But then now, like again, he have to take back there. Wow.
Yeah, Archie Star looks like the real deal here. This horse is actually coming in from Ottawa, and this is a horse I chased all year last year. And of course, this is always the gambler story, right? But it looks like the 9's going to get the best of him now.
Wow.
And it looks like Ripped and Ready, one of the 2 we talked about, is going to cruise right on by. And Archie Star is going to be second. No Time to Play is fading badly.
I don't know who that horse is, but it's kind of
looks like the dark guy's going to get third. The other horse we talked
Dark
about.
guy's third and the 7's fourth. So if you could have found Archie Star, you could have maybe put that together.
Yeah, we're all around that. I mean, look, that was a chaotic first race. With the one horse that didn't make the gate and the breaker right off the bat, and then Ripped and Ready didn't get away too well, and then I mean obviously kind of rallied pretty nicely there to
that was definitely a messy race.
Yep. All right, we've got a couple more of these we're going to come back to. For now, though, we're going to go ahead and pull this one off the screen, and we're going to go ahead and put the last race at Woodbine back onto the screen. This takes a moment. Emily, do you want to get us started? I know obviously we've covered some of these horses already. Do you want to kind of jump into what's left here in the last race?
Yeah, I've been kind of following it while you guys have been doing the harness, just kind of looking at the pools and looking at the horses. And one of the horses we didn't mention, and I was a little against him and kind of going back and forth, but opened up pretty live and is looking pretty live on the pools. Is the number 8 Boscobel, making kind of the second start of the season. I thought last time out the race shape kind of held together, and she was forwardly placed and faded. I see that the trainer stats are really good with blinkers coming off, so maybe that's what the public's kind of reacting to. But it was just something that kind of, of the horses that we haven't mentioned that kind of caught my eye of, being 20-1 morning line. She's a good looking filly, who's on the track right now, and making that switch turf to dirt, but kind of reacting all around to the 20-1 morning line. The number 5 is currently your favorite. It's been going back and forth between the 5 and the 7. 5, a first-time starter for a pretty live barn. Kind of short on the morning line, so that tends to make sense. I mean, the 7 is just a little bit lukewarm. I think that she's favored in all the pools, but it's pretty soft. The 1, kind of the same thing. I mean, 6-1 morning line, but she kind of seems right around. Been sitting there 4-1, 9-2. Not a lot of changes outside of that. That I really noticed to talk about going into this race.
All things being equal, I mean, I guess if odds aside, if that's even, who do you think's the best? I mean, if you were just bet on a horse to win in this race, who would you bet on? I know you can't just disregard the odds entirely, but who do you think is best positioned to actually win this race?
I would, this is a tough race. This isn't really like, I mean, you can see even with the board of like, who's the horse to beat, because you have those first time starters that you don't really know. I mean, they're gravitating to 1. I would say just of those horses that have run, I like the form of the 1 probably the best. I mean, there's some changes going on. She had almost an excuse last time. They just ran off at a ridiculous pace for the distance, cutting back. She has numbers that fits in this race. So it just kind of seems like this is the spot where she's kind of meant to show up. whether that's a win or not. But I think that she's in there with kind of some positive intent and just sort of fits on class and speed figures, running style, all those types of things that you want with a horse that is run.
Ashley, what do you think?
I agree. Just kind of looking at the board, the one would be the horse that I would go to. Just kind of looking at how I figure the race. I mean, obviously, like Emily said, you don't know what these first-time starters. I have no clue what they're going to do. And yeah, I can look at their workouts and stuff, but I'm not going to really know anything from them because I didn't see them. So I think with the one she's got moves, like looking at her races, obviously she's kind of jumped around barns a little bit once Fairgrounds, we talked about this last week, once Fairgrounds kind of closed for their, time. A lot of these horses from the Neil Howard barn, they did go to Kent Sweezy. A few of them did. I can think of at least 4 or 5 of them. And now we did see one last week we saw ended up in Gail Cox's barn. Here's another. They did go really swift last time for the mile and 16th distance. And I think cutting back to 6 furlongs, I could see this one being forwardly placed. And I don't know how that's going to pan out with what the first-time starters are going to do in here. But, Lady Sunshine has had so much trouble out of the gate. Emily touched upon this, that I can't really picture her unless she breaks perfectly and is sharp, being on towards the front. The 10 broke pretty decent last time, flattened a little bit late, but was kind of in the race early on. So, has the outside post. You might see that again today. But to me, the one's probably the horse that I have the most to go off of in confidence-wise. Out of the other horses that I used in my ticket, I know I only used one of the first-time starters. I did use the 4 here because I thought the horse was intriguing and offered some value. Go, Gigi, go, Gigi, go. That one, I do expect a better performance kind of second time out. I can see here this is kind of a horse that it looks like Jason really likes. I thought the race was decent last time out. And so for me, I'm trying to find a horse that would offer value. 5 to 1, I think is a good price. I know we talked about this horse might be shorter and sitting at second choice. It's currently at third choice, which fourth choice, I should say. So for me, I'm pretty happy with that. But I don't know. This is a race that I have a tough time putting a try together because I have a feeling, especially in the 3rd spot, that I'd have to go pretty deep on the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on a horse because I used the 6 in here, and I want to kind of give the reason and the logic behind it. And she's kind of a crazy price, to be honest. I mean, her debut race last year, in terms of optics figures, is one of the highest in the field. So just kind of on speed figures alone, she can kind of fit, repeating back to that. And it's also worth noting in that race, she reared up in the gate. So she ran a good race and pretty much had an excuse from that point. Both the races that she's come out of are pretty key races. The October 26th race with 3 next out winners, and there was another 3 horses that honestly you can make a case that they should have won. And then on November 15th, there was 2 next out winners. One of those had come back this meet, coming off kind of a similar layoff, and had won. So there's some positive aspects with her in this race. I mean, at 40 to 1, that's just kind of crazy because I know what her running lines look like. But there's a little bit more to the story with each one of those races. We'll see. I'm definitely glad she's on my ticket. And I do want to touch on one thing because somebody made a comment as far as hedging. If you play the pick 3 and it's playing well to cover yourself with win money, I think that there's cases where hedging makes sense, but there's no way I would hedge with the 5 or the 7 at 3 to 1 or 7 to 2. I mean, I just wouldn't. There's not enough money I would bet those horses with to make it worth my while in order to do it. And again, this is one of the things just. In terms of principles of gambling, it's just one of those things that, when you're hedging, if it's a horse that you like and you left out and, you can kind of make a case for, I suppose, those types of things. But in this case, I wouldn't be hedging with kind of the 2 shorter price horses.
Yeah, I'm glad you addressed that. I think oftentimes you're alive in a pick 4, a pick 5, and your payouts are well into the thousands. And if you're missing a couple of horses that are 20, 25 to 1, and you can conceivably put down a bet that could win you at a minimum, let's say $1,000 or $2,000 with just a couple of bucks, maybe then it's worth doing it. So just a reminder, by the way, and look, you heard Emily just now mention the 6 horse. Emily and Ashley have been firing 3 weeks straight, picking winner after winner. If Emily's telling you to bet a horse at 50 to 1, you may want to take a look at that horse. I will say it would be nice if that horse came out as well, because Emily is alive to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 in the double. Ashley, we could have a whole room full of winners here if Ashley can get home the 1, 3, and 4. For me, I'm dead in everything, so I'm going to fire a new ticket. Going to go with an exacta box here, the 1, 3, and 10. And as I mentioned before the last race, my horse here is the 10 horse. I love 9-1. I'm really happy with that price. And we'll see. I'm expecting and I'm hoping for a bounce back effort here. And I'm hoping that a bounce back effort is good enough to put a Dormy in the mix. Robert, don't want to completely overlook you here. If you have an opinion, feel free.
So oddly enough, I'm with you. I like the 3 and the 10 here. I like Trouble Trips, and the 3 Go GG Go GG Go had a trouble trip last time, dropping down today and gets another furlong to run. So I like the 3, but I would agree that 10 is a big overlay right now at 10-1. And I mean, again, dropping down, cutting back. That's probably the one I would land on right now if I was betting a win ticket at 10-1. I just think that's a little bit too high.
Yep. Well, that's my logic. Look, we have a couple of options here. If not that one, obviously.
Somebody just come off in the gate? Maybe.
On the inside or outside?
Out in the middle, it looked like.
Emily, I think you do, by the way. This is your call.
I think that's the gate horse that is problems in the gate. That's why you're getting 50-1 because you got a screw loose in there somewhere. All right, they're off. Clean breaks for all. Maybe a little bit slow on 4 and 5. 7, a little bit better break. 9 broke on top. The 1's kind of moving up on the inside. 3 kind of making that early move, which is good for her. You know, came from off the pace last time. We got the 10 chasing wide in the second flight. 9 pushing 1, 3 in second, 6 in traffic, second flight. 5 starting to make a little bit of move on the inside. 4 in hand at the back of the pack. 2 inside. 8 has some traffic kind of off the rail. 3 maybe starting to lose a little bit of ground. Kind of looks like they're pushing on and a no keep. We got an outside move with the 7 coming 5 under a ride in traffic. 6 kind of waiting behind those horses. We'll see how much the 1 has here because it looks like this is the 7's race to lose at this point. 5 covered up on the inside but doesn't really look to have much to it. Moves out. 3's got to found another spot. 3's got to angle out. Try to get to the 7. Let's see if she shows that same closing kick that she did on debut. And she's definitely going to get her. 3's going to catch the 7. I'm calling it right now. Get up, 3. Got her right on the money.
There you go. There you go.
All right, nice job. Team Cash to close it out.
Nice job. By the way, now I can tell you, since I'm not jinxing anything, the dollar doubles to the 3, paying $186. Nice.
95 cents.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Very nice call. A dollar double paying, let's just call it 190. How about that?
Well,
again.
187. I like 187. That sounds like something.
Emily and Ashley Chinette, great job there. I will give you my sob story. Adorme was wide all the way around, still made a move, kicked, and then the 6 horse Seafret just literally darted out and just slammed right into her and almost knocked her over. So if you haven't seen it, check out. Oh, look at that. Seafret, a bump on the 7 there, 2 out of the gate. Yeah, Seafret is just not friendly.
No, menace, total menace.
Just running into everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. This sums it up. SPN's been watching. He's here every week. You come back every week, and you just collect money. And eventually I'll learn, and I'll start betting their horses, and I'll start making money too.
Hey, I texted you earlier, Dan. I said, you like to price in the last, and you said 10, and I was like, not that one.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, Go GG Go was my second choice. I think you remember I told you it was my second choice. The horse opened up pretty low, and I was like, oh, but look, 7-1 ends up being a great price. Even just played the horse straight up. Made all the sense in the world. I gave you the stat on the trainer too, Kelly Callahan. I mean, basically 50% with her second-time starters. Oh, you can see on the head-on here. You'll see the blow that my horse takes here in a moment. Let's see.
I thought it was a little earlier.
Oh, what's before this? Yeah. They're already too far into the stretch.
Yeah, and that's cool to see. I guess Slade, Callahan, and Kelly kind of team up for a win. That's always nice.
Well, very good. Making people money. I haven't heard from my dad yet, so I don't know if that probably means he can cash on this one. Queen Beach, the 2 horse at 23-1. That's one we didn't talk too much about.
No, but one was used. It was used on one of those tickets.
Oh, it was on your ticket. That's right. You had.
Yeah, she went She was the one that was scratched on July 11th when they drew post 13 at a higher maiden race. That's why I used the horse.
Yeah, if you watched when the tote board opened up for this race, she was 8-5 at the first like kind of tick, and then after that, obviously the money spread out, which I think is always interesting to see where the first couple dollars go. So the horse is only 10-1 morning line, I believe. So huge price on that one.
Yeah, the double there was 261.65 for the two.
For the two, really? I feel like the double to the 3 was really good, considering the 3 was sort of.
Yeah,
they were all really great because of the 6 in race 7. Everything was like a great price, like beating that horse. It was just Yeah.
I mean, when you consider that the 2 was paying 261 and went off at 23-1, and then the 3 was paying 186 and change at 7-1, and a horse who opened up second choice, that's pretty good. I mean, the 1 was a little short. I mean, well, I guess it was bet down to 5-2, was only paying 73 at the end of the day, and the 7 was only paying 67. The 5 was really short too, and the 5 was never really a factor.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the 5 was like one of those cases where I think people just, because the morning line was short and the connections, people just kind of defaulting because they're like, I don't know what else to do. Or, this one looks live, I'm going to go there. So, it was just kind of one of those where no one really knew and people just trying to take a guess and follow everyone else.
Yeah. All right. We can wait here to see the payouts. I'm keeping an eye on Mohawk here to see. We've got 3 minutes there to race 2. You already know the payouts. You're cashing for a decent amount of money, right? What
but it's like something like refreshing your account to see the dollars go in there. It's just like it's a great feeling.
I wanted you to see the payout screen here, but
I'm just literally pressing the refresh button like every 5 seconds.
That's awesome. Well, look, hopefully people watching played it, made it pretty clear that you guys were using doubles with the 2. And I think we all liked the 3 when we were previewing ahead. So hopefully we've got a number of winners here watching the show. All right. This thing is not going official. I don't think we have anything to worry about. Do you mind if I switch off of this? You're good if I switch off this screen?
You're good.
No, Emily doesn't want me to switch off it. She wants to see it go first.
I have it going elsewhere, actually, so I'm good. It's all over my house.
All right, Emily, great job again. We will catch you next week. All right. Be well. Good luck this weekend.
All right, you guys. Good luck. Last couple races. Bye.
All righty, we're going to be moving over to Woodbine Mohawk here. Again, Robert, not an easy task. I mean, week after week, Ashley and Emily have brought it, and then it leaves me looking bad. And if you don't come through, it's going to leave you looking bad. So, so come through with something here in the second race at Woodbine Mohawk.
Yeah, well, the problem is that I'm landing on the chalk here as use my single in the pick 5 and single in multis. This is non-winners of 2 or 15,000 life, and the 1 horse is 1 for Julius. Again, we touched on the fact North America Cup eligible still, the only one in the field that still has that designation. Coming out of the OSS Gold Series, so $100,000 purse in his latest post 8, had absolutely no chance from out there and against some absolute stone cold killers. Came home in 54 seconds on that night at his back half, and he just really lays over them in here. Now, I know Ashley's horse, my better's Dell, right now 9-2. I mean, if you're going to land somewhere else, that's where you want to be, because 9-2 is not a bad price on that one. I thought the horse would actually take a little more play than that. Again, for me, though, horses that get trouble trips and get locked in, trouble seems to follow them sometimes. And also when you do get stuck on the inside in harness racing, and you're covered up, you should finish with pace, and that's what he did last time. He finished with pace, but I'm still not sure that he has the kind of speed that he can go with 1 for Julius, who finally draws a good post and looks like a real solid single in here. I landed on 1, 3, 9, and 6. An interesting a shoeing change for those who like to bet on angles is on the 8. Well, L is switching from steel to aluminum shoes, which means they're looking for more speed today. Steel shoes are typically a little bit easier on their feet, and now they're looking for a little more speed with aluminum shoes on Well L, who has post number 8.
Wow. I did not know that. Okay. So let me write this down. Aluminum shoes equals more speed.
That's correct.
All right. For us thoroughbred, harness newbies, I'm going to just leave that down there for a moment to you to savor. Ashley, what do you think?
I'm still with the 1 should win this race. Then I'll go to the 3. I know, Robert, I think you mentioned, what was it? You like the 9 somewhere in there. I used the 9 for 4th kind of on my list. A horse that I was intrigued by. I'm always trying to find a price. Clearly it didn't work out in the last race. My 2 went off stride quite early on. But I kind of like the 5 Resounding. You got James McDonald in the bike. Obviously it's kind of had some outside posts towards that outside. 8 and 7, the most recent starts. And so I like having this one a little bit more towards the inside. I'm kind of going back to that effort. Even when I look at this horse here out of the 7, post 3 starts back, ran a pretty decent race. But I just like having this one more towards the inside of the gate. And I figured the price would be right just because I knew the 1 and the 3 were going to take so much money, as well as the 9. I will say with the 9, the good benefit for this one is you can kind of see the horse to the inside does have some speed, Well L, but it's not like the last race where there was a ton. Obviously, it didn't really kind of matter in the end, but there's not a ton of speed. So not too worried about the 9 having that outside post today. Has enough speed off the gate. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really a 2-horse race. I hate to not add really much to the conversation, but those are the horses that stand out.
I don't mind your 5-horse Resounding. I actually desperately needed him last time for a big pick 4 score, and he was in no man's land.
This is like a common thread. Like anybody who Robert needed last time, that's who you should bet on, right?
and this one, 26 and 4 third quarter. They really didn't go too much crazy up front in that start. Siddhartha was tons the best, so I can see that. And at 22 to 1, he's definitely a horse you want to throw on your ticket. I really am intrigued by the money that Going Fast has taken. If you remember last week, we talked about it earlier. The horse that blew up that pick 4 ticket is the 6 horse in here, Going Fast. And what happened was Trevor Henry was not listed to drive. Mike Saftik was. He ended up getting the catch drive, and he had this horse running off the screen in the last quarter, and he just blew them away. So there's some definite confidence in this horse again today. Now at 5 to 1. And in non-winners of 2. I mean, the jump from non-winners of 1 to non-winners of 2 is a pretty big one. And I'm very interested to see how this horse performs today, especially with the money he's taking.
That's the 6 horse, am I right?
Going Fast, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what I've done is I've listened to everything you've said. I've taken notes, and I've put in a ticket. And hopefully I'll make you proud with this ticket. Coming up.
All right, so good. I mean, 4 to 5 and 1 for Julius is surprising for me. I'll be honest. I thought.
Well, that's why I'm not just using this horse on top. You know me. I'm going to go for I threw an Ashley's horse on top. Yeah, 135 on top. There we go. $10.80 super. How about we hit this? You guys don't look that confident.
No, I like it.
I like it.
I can get on board with it.
Want you to get prices in.
I put your 20 to 1 shot on top.
That's what I'm going to root for your pocket. I mean, my pocket, I'm good right now.
Now you're chilling. I noticed you the way you took that last sip.
It's like I got some funds for the weekend, so I can fire away.
Nice. Rob, are you playing down there, or are you just trying to focus on one thing at a time here?
What's that?
I said, are you gambling right now, or are you just trying to focus on one thing at a time?
Well, no, I mean, here and there. It's like last week for me. I like the tail end of the card a little more than the front end. I did play tickets keying 1 for Julius here. At 4 to 5, like I said, I don't like betting 4 to 5 shots, but you really could go find a lot worse places to take 4 to 5 than 1 for Julius right now. That's what I'll say.
All right. Who's due for a race call?
I butchered the last one, so I think it's Ashley's turn.
Ashley, you're feeling good.
No. You
You've
have
had a
the
couple
wager
of
in it. You have the excitement. I think, Dan, you got to give this a shot.
a couple Labatt Spike seltzers in you. You could
Just one.
do this
Just one. I hate this. It's like my least favorite. Like, this would be my last career in horse racing, be announcing races. I would swear too much, probably. Okay, I'm just gonna let the gate. The
Couldn't do any better
rolling,
than Emily did tonight with the swearing. And that horse won. We should take note of that. Anytime she curses, maybe we should.
Okay,
bet
so
that
the
horse
9
won.
looks like he's gonna move off the gate like we expected because he does have a decent amount of gate speed. So hopefully he'll get over. Actually, he's gonna go right to the front.
Wow.
It's not even a contest
Wow.
at this point. Looks like the 2 is gonna Nunya Business gonna track in second. Then we have the favorite one for Julius, and then we have the 10 actually got a decent trip out of there. Macpheus. Let's see. Now I'm like squinting on my screen. It looks like the 3's in behind that 1-6. I mean, they're kind of strung out in a line right now. The 1 actually is going to draw out to the outside now. Kind of probably.
Where's the favorite? Is that?
Yeah, that's
He's
the
coming
favorite.
now.
So
Okay.
he's just making the move now early, and he's probably just going to tuck right over in front of the 9. Looks like maybe the 3 or the 6 might go next. Can't really tell. There's kind of some thinking back there. Horse is kind of moving. Looks like the 3 is going to go now.
Is that one clear or one still working?
He's clear. Well, he's mostly clear, and they're
He's
walking.
clear. I just don't think he shifted over all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, they are literally like pedestrian pace here, almost a 30-second second quarter. So
yeah, this is pretty fast, slow for that.
Pretty
fast
slow,
56 compared to other ones. I was just looking at some of the other times. They're usually in 55-ish.
Let's move this 3. Keep moving with this 3. Don't stop now.
The 6 is getting a perfect trip against second over, and I mean, if he has that same kick as last time, it'll be interesting to see if he can get his way on the ticket.
I need this 9 to slow down a little bit. Uh-oh. I need anything to pass the 9. Come on.
I mean, the 1's clear at this point. The 6 is rolling now. He looks like he
6
might
is
get up
coming
to
now.
second.
Yeah, this one's
no.
under. The one's under a death grip right now to the wire. He's shut down.
No.
I don't think I have the
10
4th.
looks like he's gonna get 3rd, and then it'll be the 9. So
All right, pretty formful, I guess, right? I mean, that was.
Yeah,
the
looks
only
like
horse
one.
that really didn't run, I shouldn't say run, but didn't race a good race is the 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just kind of got caught out. I think we just lost. Oh, wait. There you go. Did you turn the lights out or did your signal go out?
No, I had a phone call. I had to decline, I guess.
Oh, that is a problem potentially, right? If you're doing this on your phone, that's a risk we take
well,
every
usually
week.
I have it on Do Not Disturb, but
Okay.
so then I don't have problems.
It's a lot to remember.
1, 6, 10, 9.
All right, so some prices there underneath if you use the 10 horse. Yeah, well, look, we're gonna have to. I mean, look, you guys were right. That one was tough to make money on though. 3 to 5 over 7 to 2. If you found the 10 horse, you probably made a couple bucks there. So let's do this now. I mean, instead of making people wait until the very end, and so just so we know that while they're watching, I see the numbers. Give us your cold pick 4 for later. I'm pulling the pen out right now to start taking some notes, Robert.
Well, it's not a cold pick 4, but I mean, we'll do our best to keep it economical.
The confidence is not the same.
Yeah, you were so confident last week.
Well, listen, we're confident, but it's not. We're not going with a cold one here.
Okay.
I'll give you the top choice in each race. So we're gonna go all the way to race number 8. Okay.
I'm writing this down in my notebook. I hope you know, like it's like the sick thing that I have. So.
And by the way, because I was DMing with Robert the other day, and he's like, "Dude, this isn't the program. You could just look at the program." And I'm like, "I know, but I like when I hear you. I like when you give it to me. I like when you say it. I like when you text me. I like it coming from you directly." But by the way,
it's a good point. There's more context. My friends get really mad now because they'll ask me who I like, and I'll be like, "Just download the program, read the journal." And they get really mad because they feel like they're not getting that, that personal touch anymore. And then I'm like,
that's it.
And then I'm withholding something from the journal. But in actuality, like, those are my thoughts, even though they are from 2 days ago, and some things may change, and that's why live capping is so important. Let's look right at race number 8, and this is the one where I did toy with keying the 3 horse in this race. It's non-winners of 1 for trotters, 4-year-olds and younger. And I really like Magic Cape coming out of OSS Gold, much like One for Julius, making that drop back from Gold Company back into this essentially was a maiden race. So this one I think is the one to beat. But being young trotters, I don't want to kind of be married to this horse. I am going to look for a couple prices, with her, and I'm going to use the 1 and the 5. So my first leg and race number 8, it's 1, 3, 5. And then in the second leg, race number 9, I think again it's a race that you don't, want to be tied to one horse. Again, it's the Ontario Sire Stakes, grassroots for 3-year-olds, and the form doesn't always hold week to week. I think that 4, 5, and 6 should have you covered. The one horse that I did toy with adding to the ticket is the 3, Gamblin' Road. My top choice is the 6, Magic Bob, who is dropping from, I consider to drop, non-winners of 40,000 life against Open Company back into a restricted race for Ontario sired horses here in the grassroots. So he is a speedster. He'll be out there probably, freewheeling on the lead. He's been stopping in recent weeks, but last year he actually finished second in the finals for the grassroots at the end of the season, and I think he might find his old form tonight. So again, if you want to spread in there 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, we're using that 3, rest assured. Let me ask you a quick question here. As I'm looking at the program, following along with you, I noticed the 9 horse only has 1 race under the belt. What do you think about that one? Any chance, to take a step forward here, potentially at a big price?
Yeah, so he's got 1 qualifier under his belt. I was not really enamored with this qualifier, but again, there's no money involved in qualifiers, so they don't always really reveal their hand, so to speak. Post 9 for me is why he's not going to land on my ticket.
You don't like that? Yep. Okay.
Young trotter, post 9, he's probably going to get away 8th or 9th, and he would need something kind of like that first race, something real messy to happen for him to get in the
Okay. Okay. All right. So you're 3, 4, 5, 6, and in shorter tickets, you would leave the 3 out potentially, 4, 5, 6 at a minimum.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then race number 10, we're still sticking with the OSS trotters, and the 3 it kind of reminds me of not as big as a drop as One for Julius, but Charmbo Prince, the 3 horse, made a break last time as an overwhelming favorite at Grand River Raceway, which is a half-mile track, so a much smaller surface. And he had the trailing post that day. Probably explains why he made a break, because it was very uncharacteristic of him. And he's been winning in non-winners of 2, and most recently raced in non-winners of 3. And everyone else in this race is pretty much struggling to get out of non-winners of 1. So this is where you can, in the grassroots races, you have horses kind of coming from every different class, especially non-winners of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this horse just has a huge edge over the rest of them. Now, with
Single?
that what's that?
Single time?
So on some of my press tickets, he will be a single. But because the horse I like the most and the horse I need to be alive to in this pick 4 sequence is in the last race, I will go 3 and 8. Ongoing Royalty, those connections again of Filion and Belargent. I really think that the 3 is the better horse, but just in case something does happen, I think the 8 is the horse you want to have on your ticket along with him.
Okay, let me pause one more time here, because I want the anticipation to build until this last leg. And also remind people, if you're just joining us now, last week around the same time, Robert gave us a pick 4 ticket with 3 singles that all hit. Tonight he's spreading a little bit more, but if history is any indication, you're going to want to stick around and you're going to play this ticket. I'll put it up on the screen here in a minute. Let me ask you a quick question again from a novice's perspective. I could see, it's raining a little bit. It's been raining kind of on and off. Does the weather factor in as much here as it would with the thoroughbreds? I know for me, that's obviously going to be something I'm going to look at. I'm going to go over. Is it as much of a factor with some of the standard breds here?
Yeah, I would say, when you're looking at these younger trotters, it's a factor because it does produce races like we saw in the first one where there's multiple horses making miscues. I'll be honest, I would say that breeding for a wet surface is much more valuable in thoroughbred capping than it is in standardbred capping. I find that races do run a a lot more true to form on the standardbred side. The one thing I will say is that the weather can sometimes create a bias. So, for example, you know, on a fast track, actually on Tuesday nights, it was a speed bias. If you were not sitting first or second, other than one race on the card, you got nothing. Every race was speed. I think that you know, typically weather and the elements can create a bias, and that's something you'd want to watch for.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on the next few races, and if anything emerges, we'll also your social media, your Twitter accounts down there too, so people can follow you for any updates throughout the night. All right, take us into this last leg of the pick 4, race 11.
Yeah, so race number 11, that's where we find our single, and we're gonna go all the way outside to the dreaded 9 hole.
Oh no!
So hopefully gonna get some value out there. We're landing on better tricks, and this is the bottom condition at Mohawk Park. This is for non-winners of 3,000 last 5, so it's going to have a lot of horses that are dropping in that have been performing well or that have been racing in this class for a long time and just aren't picking up big pieces. So it's kind of the lower performing horses right now. And this one here is actually coming, well, by one start at Georgian Downs, but before that, coming from the Meadowlands and racing in classes that are, you know, much higher than this class, but getting beat badly. Now moving to a new barn, for the Jody Cullen stable, and one start up here at Georgian Downs, which is a 5/8 track. It's a smaller track than Mohawk Park. Raced in the preferred. Now in the preferred there, she actually met Reclamation. Reclamation would be a mid to high condition horse here, and has even at times made her way up to the preferred, which is the top of the top at Mohawk Park. And this one actually pulled first over, so challenged her on the outside. She did end up stopping. She didn't get embarrassed. Now Reclamation would be 1 to 9 in here, and this horse, you know, definitely did not make a poor account of herself. She's now going to make her second start for the new connections. She is going to go back on Lasix tonight because they don't actually have Lasix at Georgian Downs. So she'll get Lasix again tonight here at Mohawk Park. And I really think that this horse lays over the field. She's definitely, I would say, the class, you know, of the race. And if the new connections have her figured out, I don't think there's anyone that can go with her. The morning line is 8 to 1, but much like last week with Nita Rocket at 10 to 1 morning line, we're not going to get anywhere close to that price.
Wow. Okay. All right. I've been taking note. I'm going to put that ticket up on the screen here in a second for anybody who wants to play the late pick 4 tonight. Ashley, can you get us started on this race, the third race tonight?
Yeah, I kind of got down to 2 horses in here, the 2 Remember Titans and the 7 Fitbit, who I think also are 2 horses that Robert likes, according to the journal. I'm kind of looking at the 2 Remember Titans. Comes off a win at that grassroots level, which is the same today. That one coming out of Grand River. Had an inside post position, and I think it's kind of key with this horse. I don't think this horse needs to be on the front, but can be on the front. Also can kind of sit. So I like the trips that this one has had. Obviously, just a lot to like in general. Has really stepped up kind of this year. If you look at 2019, was winless, but had 3 runner-up placings and a third. But this year is yet to finish worse than second. So I just think there's a lot of plus marks for this horse. That's why you see 8 to 5. I'm kind of co-favored, technically second choice. It looks like there's a little bit more money on the 7 Fitbit. The 7 Fitbit was second at the grass roots level last time. Kind of, you know, had that outside post that day too. Also had the 7 post and ran a really good race. You know, kind of looking at the back panel, it wasn't super speedy, but it was respectable. It was 29 and 2. Was still able to make up some ground just to miss by half a length. And you know, this one's I mean, they're both consistent horses, and I think that's what's sticking out with them, especially with these 3-year-olds. You know, these are the most consistent ones in the group, and they've been performing well at the level, so they stuck out. I kind of already know what the journal went in. I went in a little bit of a different direction. Underneath, I liked the 3 Deep Procrastinator. I thought the effort last time out here at Woodbine was decent, missed by 3/4 of a length, went 28 and 3, which was a big improvement for this one in that back panel. You know, it was a price that day 11 to 1, and I'm not surprised at this level. Obviously, that was a lower class. This one's kind of going to have to step up more. But, you know, there's some question marks around him. You know, you can kind of see he had issues 2 starts back, and then he had a wide post, but kind of ran a decent race out of the 9 post. Finished 3rd, beaten by just a length and a quarter, and made up some ground late. So I'm expect this one to probably have to rally from off the pace, but you know, I gotta look for value. Like, I would hate to just give out a 7-5 and a 9-5, and that's kind of the struggle. I feel like, and Robert can kind of correct me, but I feel like in these grassroots races and these Ontario Sire Stakes in general, there's typically a horse or two that really stands out. And I think after that is kind of just murky waters. It's really kind of hard to kind of distinguish these horses, and that's why you'll see on the tote board right now, you see 3 horses at kind of, you know, single digits or less than that, and then everyone else is a big price. That's just how these races kind of typically play out.
Yeah, I would agree. And for me, for you sports bettors out there, I would liken this to college football in the sense that the margin between these horses sometimes is huge, because you have horses that are coming out of non-winners of 1, horses that are dropping from non-winners of 3 or 4, and just there's usually going to be, like you said, standouts in most of the races that are going to take a lot of support, and sometimes they're difficult to beat. And that's why I landed on the 2 along with you here, Ashley. I like the 2 as well. Very strong effort at Grand River last time, and 2 really good efforts at Mohawk Park before that. We mentioned a horse earlier, Hayek. That horse is a machine, and this horse, you know, would have been the winner 2 starts back if he did not meet that one. You know, meet up with that one who dominated that start. For me, again, I land on the 2 and 7. Same with you, Ashley, in the top 2 spots. After that, you know, I would, if you're looking for a price right now, I'd go to the 9, Aussie Lover. I think this horse is one that I've always kind of chased, and talking about racing in kind of higher open company groups, this horse is coming, albeit at Grand River, non-winners of 42,000 life. A lot of these horses are coming at a non-winners of 1 or 7,000 life. So you can kind of see that margin between the 2 and the classes they've been racing in. This horse is going to have his work cut out for him from the 9 hole. But if you're looking for something to spice up your tries or your supers, that's where I would land. Jody Jamieson gets the call today, which, you know, Jody's been driving really well lately. And if he can kind of navigate a trip for this horse, I definitely think he can land on the.
So we covered your top picks there. As Ashley alluded to, your picks, as we mentioned earlier, your picks, of course, in the Horse Players Journal inside the program for Woodbine Mohawk. And of course, that's the website there. You go to the website any race night and get the past performances for free. And you could also see the Horse Players Journal there with Robert's picks. I wanted to go back to something you mentioned a second ago, which is that just given the class of these races and the way these races are structured, oftentimes you have sort of very heavy chalk, and you know it's just hard to beat them. It's just that's just the way it is. From a betting perspective, once you're doing this often enough, if you're playing 3 or 4 or more nights a week, what do you do? I mean, you just sit out those races? Do you look for a spot like last week where you can go with 3 singles and hammer a pick 4? How do you generally approach betting when you know that the odds of catching a bomb on top are pretty minuscule in these kinds of races?
Yeah, but before this card, some of my friends were asking me about what to do in this pick 5, and I said I'd center it around one for Julius as a single, because I don't think it's ever a bad thing to single a horse at 3 to 5. You don't want to bet him to win, but you can certainly single him. I did say that this is the kind of pick 5 that you could play it really, really thin and try to get it for a bigger number. So I would stick to the multis. You know, maybe play some exotics like in here. You know, I'd look to maybe you know, put the 2 on top and use the 7 and 9 behind him. The 5 starting to take money now at 3 to 1. I used him for 3rd. He's the one that I could certainly kind of drop off the ticket and stick more to like a 2 with a 7-9 here and just hope the 9 pops. But you know, I think you've got to tread carefully on nights like tonight and stick to the multis. And if you can just get one leg, like you saw in that pick 4 last time, if you just get one leg and one favorite beat, that will make it pay.
Ashley, I'm assuming you don't want to do this race call.
Don't I look so excited? No, I don't want to do it. We share here. Sharing is caring. We have to share responsibility. Dan, you look excited.
Is it my turn?
I think it is Dan's turn.
Oh boy. All right. Here we go. I'm trying to like frantically pull up the program, but I guess you know what? I'm just gonna wing it. I'm gonna go with numbers. We'll do numbers. All right, they're off, sort of. All right, the one looks like he's about to break.
The one did break. Jody's got the 9 fired up on the outside, by the way. Wow.
Well, you take this, man. You're seeing things I'm not even seeing.
No, well, just that's the price horse I just mentioned. So Aussie Lover just went to the lead at 25-1. I'll be honest with you. I think we would have, if we knew those were the game plan tonight with this horse, we probably would have been a little heavier on him. He looks like he's going to try to release the 5, Kenogami Coco, still trying to clear. Remember, Titan sitting in the 3-hole and Fitbit in the 4-hole. So far, all of our horses are right in the mix. 5's having trouble clearing. It looks like Jody's having trouble shutting his down, but now remember, Titan's on the outside. Louis Philippe will gladly release the favorite, and 28 to the quarter. And let's see what this half clicks up. And it looks like they're going reasonable, 57-1. So again, a very reasonable second quarter for these ones. Fitbit sitting 4th, and D Procrastinator is sitting 5th. Fitbit just pulled to the outside. D Procrastinator is going to follow his cover. And remember, Titan's still looking pretty strong on the front end, but the 5 is definitely tracking him well. My Bomber's sitting 3rd, and I'm trying to figure if this horse can stick on the ticket because he would really make for a nice payout if he can. Looks like Louis already got the itchy trigger finger to pull here, and he does. He's already out and going. And Jody looks like he's still got some trot sitting in 3rd there, so we'll see if he can angle out and get a piece of this. Now he's dropping back in behind Louis, but it looks like these two are going to decide it. Remember, Titans and Kenogami Coco, they're – look at this. The 9 is coming on now, guys. Oh, wow. I really hope someone played these numbers because if we can get this, oh, wow, here comes the 9. It looks like a 2 and 9. Wow. I hope someone catched that.
I hope someone played it too. I didn't, of course.
in the journal, I went 2759. It looks like it runs 295.
That's awesome.
But that's the horse we just talked about, Aussie Lover, 25-1. And it looks like he just got up for second. Even if he's 3rd, he's going to add a ton of value to it. And that's really, you know, again, without, you know, speaking to Jody to find out what the game plan was, Jody is a more aggressive driver than who's been driving this horse. I think that made all the difference. Let's see here. And it looks like he does get second. He does get second. So, you know, right now, I'm wishing I didn't just play the pick 5s, and I wish that I just bet that extra try. Because this one is going to be a nice one. Let's check out what the probable is. Let's take a look. So a 2-9 is $82. Oof. It's a nice payout. The 5 just kind of hung there on the outside, and that's why, you know, I didn't really have a lot of faith in that one. And even like, so listen, I don't want to, you know, tout the journal too much here, guys. All right, but it looks like the super is what comes underneath them because it looks like the 7 held on for 4th. So in that case,
you should definitely tout the journal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's tout the journal. All right. So 2759 was the picks in the journal, and it came in 2957. So that's going to help the old ROI out, even though the 6-5 winner on top. And let's see what this pays, because whenever you do split them, and that's what we were talking about right before they went to the gate, is that getting the 9 on the ticket and splitting those short price horses is what will make this pay. So let's see.
While we wait to see the payouts here, hopefully some of the people watching have cashed. Wanted to mention, as we did earlier, Dark Horse. You can go to Dark Horse, learn more at playdarkhorse.com. I just this week got an Android, downloaded it. I've been messing around with it. It's really cool. There's all this technology. It selects races for you. And we talked about learning, and as you know, if you're learning, whether it's the standardbreds or if you're learning how to play the thoroughbreds, there is a play option where you play with play coins, free coins. So it's a good way to kind of learn the game. So go to playdarkhorse.com, check them out. And again, as we await these payouts here, as we mentioned last week, Robert left us with a pick 4 with 3 singles that all won. And he's again here tonight sharing a pick 4 with us for later on. because you know that you're not just going to turn off your computers now or your phones now and go to sleep. You're going to continue gambling. And so here's the ticket to play later on. Starts in race 8. I added Robert. I added your bonus horse in the second leg. I wasn't gonna risk that horse winnings and not having the horse on the ticket. So that's for $1 right there. Of course, you can play it for as little as 20 cents. It's a $4.80 ticket, super reasonable. And Robert's throwing in a couple of prices, including an 8-1 in the last leg, who I think we sort of know is going to be bet down some, but still you're getting a horse 8-1 in the morning line. The last leg is your single. And you've got good coverage first couple of legs, a little thinner in the third leg, and that single in the last, $24 for $1.
Yeah, that's. I mean, again, we're looking to single that horse on the pick 4 because just like last week, we know we're not going to get that 8-1, but we might get 3 or 4 or 5-1 in the pick 4, right? That's where this horse will get overlooked. But then when we get to that race and the early money comes in, we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see that horse take a lot of action. So not a bad payout there for the try, 149 pretty much for $1, and the super $433. Not bad at all. I should tell you guys though my best bet on the card. We haven't touched on that one yet.
Bring it.
Which is in race number 6, and it's number 3, Father Corby, and this one is a first-time starter. We're looking at a 2-year-old trotter now, so these ones are a little more tougher to handicap. Dustin Jones is the trainer, very good trainer at getting them ready. He qualified the horse in his first qualifier, handed the reins over to Christoforou in his second qualifier, and I really like what I saw. He was an easy winner. Looks like he had a lot left. There's no need to, push your horses too much in these qualifiers. There's no money involved. And I think that this one can beat a vulnerable favorite, or at least a favorite in the morning line. Black Tie Bash, who's 8-5 morning line. I think if Father Corby minds his manners, keeps on trotting tonight, he'll get the job done, hopefully at about 3 or 4-1.
Nice. I tell you, like, as someone who's like listening, like I listened to all these names. We had the whole conversation with the names a couple of weeks ago and how like I'm probably not pronouncing them correctly. There's no way I could hear the name Chris Christoforou and not think of Chris Christopherson. Does that wear off after a while, or is that always the image that comes to your mind?
No, he so
can he sing?
What's that?
Can he actually sing?
No, I don't think so. But he actually, it's funny. He's always been. They've always said he looks like Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos. Oddly enough, and he was my favorite driver when I was a kid. Back when I would bet my favorite driver and favorite the gray horses. And now I've actually rekindled some conversations with him recently. I made him my best bet. I think we touched on it last week, on a horse that got beat 30 lengths, and he said he did his best, but the horsepower just wasn't there.
All right. Good stuff. We're going to wrap up here now as we come up on 8 o'clock. Just a reminder, every Thursday night, not Wednesday night, as we told you at the start of the show, but every Thursday night, we do this show for 2 hours starting at 6 o'clock Eastern. It's called Woodbine Live. We start out with Emily Gullikson and Ashley Mailloux giving out winners 3 consecutive weeks. And then we move into the second hour, our standard bred hour, with Robert Reed Jr., dropping the knowledge with Ashley at Woodbine Mohawk. And, of course, we leave you here with a late pick 4 ticket. As always, you can catch Robert Reed Jr. In the Horse Players Journal inside the free program that you can find at Woodbine Mohawk's website. And Ashley, you can find everywhere, including a couple of hours from now, Betting After Dark. Ashley, remind the people where they can catch Betting After Dark.
Yeah, it's on Anita Marks. You can go to her Twitter and watch it. Today, we're going to focus on a big weekend of racing at Monmouth. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of action in New Jersey this weekend with the Haskell on Saturday, as well as the Meadowlands Pace. So there's a little bit of everything for everyone, but we're going to focus solely on the thoroughbreds. So we're going to look at 4 stakes races around 10:15 tonight.
All right. Very good. I will be there. I will be there behind the scenes. You won't see me, but I will be there, and we'll check that out. 10:15 at Anita Marks on Twitter. And also another reminder, on Thursday nights, you could also watch Racing Night Live on TSN if you're in Canada. If you're here in the U.S. where I am, you could watch Racing Night live on America's Best Racing's YouTube channel. All right. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you to all of our awesome hosts and guests that have been on tonight. It was another successful night, and we will do it again next week. Have a good night, everyone.